I'm talking today to Erik Cornish. Erik is a UK financial healer. Hi, Erik. Thank you so much for letting me interview you for Askimo TV's International Library of Interviews with Experts.
Hi, Joanne. It's a joy to be with you today.
Wonderful to be talking to you today, Erik. Erik, so let's have a discussion today about husbands dealt with the finances and now he's gone. So to begin, so often the husband is the one dealing with the finances in the home, and through various situations, whether it's death, divorce, financial trouble, the husband leaves, and now the woman's left to take care of things. Why is this such a common problem that you face and see in the work that you do?
I'm seeing this across the generations, certainly with older people. In fact, in my own situation, my dad died about 4 years ago, and mum's in her 80s and never had a clue how the finances work because that was always his area. So I've been working at home and just explaining to her gently how it all works, going through the bank statements every month, keeping an eye on it for her, and just showing her the basics of how it works. And again, with the younger ladies, where there's more often divorce or separation in the relationship, again, they're going through the same sort of situation of having to deal with something that they felt the husband should have been dealing with. And there's a sense of betrayal, there's a sense of being deserted, there's all sorts of emotional baggage around having to deal with the finances. So again, we start with the practical stuff. Well, let's actually open the bank statements, because usually they're in a big bag hidden in the corner somewhere unopened. And we start dealing with the trauma of having to deal with this now. Then we actually look at the numbers and see what's going on in there and sort out anything that needs to be resolved on the financial front. And invariably, within an hour of walking through the door, we're talking about what happened in the relationship and where the emotional stress was around that relationship, what was going on. It's the usual sort of doing the old 1-2. We sort out the finances. If there's joint life policies, you don't need joint life policies anymore. If they're not claiming benefits, I've got some people I can help who can get them onto the benefits to get the child allowances they're entitled to have, get all that sorted out, sort out any tax issues that there may be, and make sure that every month they're actually solvent and everything's running itself okay, and there aren't going to be any financial traumas. And then we go back into what happened in the relationship. Why do you feel deserted? Invariably, again, these always end up with mothers' ideas around money and what was happening in their parents' relationship around money. I was talking to a lady last week who was saying, well, my mum always had to try and scrimp and save a few pennies every week out of the housekeeping budget because she knew that Dad would spend it on drink if he had half a chance to. So, and then you think, well, okay, little people tend to blame themselves in their situation. So as a young child, she would have felt it was her fault that Dad was always drunk on a Friday night and started slapping people. In fact, I'm seeing a lady tomorrow who had exactly that problem, and her mum used to grab her, get her out of bed and take her out of the house if Dad came home drunk on a Friday night because they knew what was going to happen next. So these issues of self-worth and repeating the patterns down the generations is exactly what financial healer and the EFT and matrix reimprinting techniques address.
What tips or advice can you share for women on how to get started should a crisis arise?
The first thing you need to do is a good financial health check. And here in the UK, you go to an independent financial advisor, an IFA, and they go through all the different policies you've got. Make sure that you're paying the money you should be doing for life assurance. You've got some sort of pension provision in place. The next thing to do is look at all your utility bills. And there's plenty of websites here that you can go on to make sure you're on the right tariffs for your gas, electricity, because these are all frighteningly expensive over here now. And then look at what are you spending money on? What's a luxury and what's a basic? You've got to have some fun in your life, but at the same time, if you're subscribing to a very expensive magazine every month, and you look at it in terms of what you're spending a year out of taxed income, is it really a good idea? Or can you go down the library and have a look at it down there for free? So we look at, what's going in, what's going out. Get the balance right, make sure there's enough fun money coming in every month so you can plan the holiday, you can plan the extras without having to go into debt on a credit card and end up paying over 20% interest to service that debt. So it's a very practical approach of seeing what's going on and then planning a future and putting the finances together to get to do the things you want to do with your life.
With regards to finances, what do you feel women should know or should be asking their husbands about the family finances to avoid these situations should they arise?
It's important to be communicating, and that's the same in any aspect of any relationship. Communication is key. If you do have a joint house account and you're both chipping money in every month, it's important to sit down once a month when the bank statement comes and just see what's going in, what's being spent, what's going out. If you do that, then you're happy that everything's being done properly. The worries come when, husband's disappearing off and coming home late or whatever, and you start thinking, well, what is he doing? Where is he? What's going on here? Where's the money coming from for this? And once communication breaks down, the relationship can break down very quickly. It's estimated about 30% of couples don't actually talk to each other about their finances. Well, that's a very high percentage, and the figures have come from the divorce courts. So this is where it ends up if things start going wrong. If people start lying to each other about their finances, they're only one step away from lying to each other about more important things. So it's important to get the communication right, to have a clear, common objectives of what you want to achieve financially in the relationship. One couple I was talking to were actually going in totally different directions financially. They were working as co-directors of a business. He was thinking retire at 60, go to the beach. And she was thinking get the kids through public school and have nice big holidays every year. So they were actually putting totally different financial stresses on the relationship, which, not surprisingly, fell apart rather quickly after that. These things happen.
What are the benefits to keeping a budget, and how should a budget be planned out?
Okay, the benefits is that you know exactly what's going on. So you're not working through fears of what might happen or might not happen, or dreams of living in some cloud cuckoo land which just isn't there. You start off knowing the actual finances down to the penny every month. And then you can start planning from there so that you know that each month you're dealing with all the issues. You've got enough contingency fund and you've got your fund money fund. So you can see that you're actually achieving the things you want to be doing with your life. And this becomes more important when you go through a major life change. I've got various clients at the moment who are working with big companies. They've heard there are redundancies around. They've always had a dream of what they wanted to do, run a cake shop or go off and do something like that. And this process of making that change and saying, okay, when is the right time to leave the business? If they do make me redundant, do I have a pot of money available? Well, if you've got a core financial plan in place, then you can fit what's likely to happen into that and look at the numbers quite specifically to sort of figure out when's the best time to make these major changes. If you haven't, and you're back into living with the fears of what could go wrong or the dreams of, well, that wouldn't it be wonderful if, none of which are based on the reality. So it really does keep you centred financially on where you're going with your life.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
You're welcome.